I mean,
and
it's
had,
not that tough
and
to
I'll
get
say
rid
a
of,
few
right?
miles,
No,
like it
it's-
might have been 18
Yeah.
to 35.
But, there's a truck there.
Probably.
Oh.
Oh,
What you
Not
doing?
placing in his truck now?
no shit. He said,
Okay.
push it out of the way up in the corner, along with the full plows and, the little stuff.
Yeah.
So push it all in one corner.
Okay.
Used to have to use the truck to hold barn off.
It doesn't shake
Yeah,
off
it's a
in a year.
It's like probably a 67 Grand truck, standard old Chile.
Oh, wheat truck.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
year difference.
Yeah, not even.
It doesn't, I
Okay.
can tell them,
I'll
one
share with you first.
heads off, one heads off of it. It's an 8-cylinder. But, I don't think they should do
Well,
that. Stuff there, well,
Yeah.
shit
Yeah.
Hello.
I think he did,
Right.
I think I saw where he did pay our bills. At least he did that.
Oh,
But I still,
Yeah. That's good.
yeah.
So that's
About
about
3 or 4
I
months
appreciate
before
that.
due.
Appreciate that.
I haven't, but they haven't talked about it on their letter.
Ashley,
What they do need is their deal. I
have
told
a.
Matt, tell
I
him
haven't.
to call their, general, say you guys gotta have more road people out here. and
We were talking, I was like, I
Don't
don't
call
want
the
update,
state.
he probably needs his own need to do.
That's their budget.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when we met with, John.
We'll be good. Hey, excellent. Everything okay in your world?
Put that place up for
They're
sale.
getting started on budget.
Did they?
Maybe not started, maybe
Continuing.
So.
It's doing good. We have a new
We'll-
system
Surely anybody
and
that's trying to
people
buy
are
it
working in it now and
have to come to the city and
Revenue
find out
looks
what's
good.
going on, right?
Yeah, but we're.
we'll see.
we're trying to make a
Exactly.
decision
We don't have the big pieces
We're
of
not
revenue
gonna
yet,
have
but
them.
I have an idea
on
and so we'll see.
Yeah.
And we're doing okay. We trimmed the fat and covered budget last year and put it in a bond issue and things like that.
And we were gonna
It
talk
shows.
about that in
But it's
the
okay.
fall,
It's-
at any rate, well before the
It's
bonds
gonna work
expire,
out.
or until the.
We're
time
under
frame.
expenses too, so. Yeah,
that's where you wanna be.
that's what I like to do. We have people we can hire.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
It does.
Like, I talked to a city council.
Yeah, it does. And it does, that's why I don't have things, my right arm went on maternity leave.
Sell the pool too.
She'll be back next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and get started here. I want to welcome you all to the regularly scheduled council meeting for the governing body of Spring Hill, Kansas on May 23rd, 2024. If you guys would like to stand with me, if you're able, Pastor Logan Moore from Ogletree Baptist Church is here to give the invocation.
Let us pray. Father, we come before you now in search of your face and your presence here tonight. Father, we ask that as we do come together in order to discuss the future and the things that are going on here in this city, that God, that you would be present, that your wisdom would be given, that you would give it liberally unto all those that are participating, unto all those that are making decisions, that we might be able to seek your will in the midst of it, and that you would be glorified through that. Father, I ask that we as a city would be unified, that we would come together in order to support the decisions that are made, that we would support the future that is being sought after, and that rather than fighting one against another, that we could come together in order to accomplish great things here in this city. Father, I ask that you would put up a hedge of protection about all those that are participating tonight, whether they are public servants, whether they are city council, whether they are seeking something from the city tonight. God, I just ask that you would put up a hedge of protection about them, that you would guide them, and that you would just keep them from harm. Father, I just ask that above all things, that tonight you would be glorified, that your will would be accomplished, and that together that we would rejoice in your presence. We love you, and in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did want to say we have Brian, I believe, is here online with us. Brian, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. And then Chad has had a kid in the hospital with pneumonia, so he will not be here tonight.
God.
Rightfully so. So he's with his kid, so we can just be thinking and praying for him. Hope to get better quickly. With that, Madam Clerk, can you please take the roll?
Mr. Young, Mr. Peel,
Here.
Mr. Van Houten,
Here.
Mrs. Feeback. Here. Mr. Verbregen.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum present.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any questions or comments on that? If not, I entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to citizen participation. This is the time when the public can come in and speak about whatever's on their mind. We did not have anyone sign on the list, but if there's anybody out there that would like to speak, now would be your time. And if you do want to just state your name and your address, that would be great.
All right. My name is Dan Broyles, 21127 West 186 Terrace, Spring Hill, Kansas. All right, so it's good to meet you again, City Council. I was here a couple months ago to discuss with other people that we didn't like the location of I just got here and my mind is still racing. Of the truck stop on 186 or 183rd, sorry, and 169 highway. Anyway, it's my understanding that the city has annexed a portion that's north of there all the way to 175th Street. Is that correct?
It's been for
some
time ago. Yeah, it's been some time.
That was news to me. I was wondering if what I really wanted to know is if the developer of the truck stop was considering that corner as well, maybe the 175th and 169 corner, since it also traverses the 175th corridor all the way to the interstate, both to 169 or to 69 and as well as to I-35, and that might be a more advantageous location for them, a little further away from some of the neighborhoods that are there in concern. So that's all I wanted to know is if that had been presented to them, if they thought that might work out better for them, because it certainly would work out better for us. That's all I had. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I believe they did weigh all options, and that's the location they picked, so. All right, thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll go ahead and close citizen participation at this point and move on to the consent agenda. These are items that the staff considers to be routine maintenance, but if there are any questions or comments, now would be the time. If not, I entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is
Thank
there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to formal council action. The first item on the agenda is consider approval of change order 4 for the Webster Street Base Grant Improvements Project with Walters Construction LLC. Mr. Millo, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, I come before you this evening to consider change order 4 for the Webster Street Base Grant Improvements. The project is nearing the end of completion. Pretty much all the hardscape work is done. Got a little bit of some extras, as is not unusual at the end of the project. Those extras work are indicated in the change order and in the agenda. We have to do a little more KDOT fencing than we planned. We had some undercut and subgrade. We're still trying to make things work. We found the gas line for the gas plant runs right east of our box culvert. We had to move that during construction, trying to avoid that high pressure 6-inch line. So we're still struggling with grades on that. And then some asphalt paving additions. The total addition is $66,948.02. I did provide the city's finance director with the total project cost estimate. We've underrun some other items on that project, and I think we'll come in, I'm still pretty certain that we'll come in well under the original total project cost estimate. So things like we're a little bit under on material testing. Our services look like they're going to run under contingencies, change order budget, that type of thing. So the change order is city standard, has been reviewed by the city attorney, and our goal here is to hopefully get this to a final pay application number so that, because we do at the end of June, have to have that finalized out. We should be, have no problem doing that, but we're trying to be ahead of the game here so that we can get a final pay application when it's appropriate. With that, it will be paid out from the base grant funds or the RHID financing, so I think it all goes back to the developer anyway. Recommend approval of change order 4 with Walters Construction LLC in the amount of $66,948.02, and direct the mayor and staff to execute change order 4. And I'm available for any questions you might have.
I'm just saying it's looking pretty good out there, and then putting in the sidewalks on both sides of the road there.
They are complete down except for the ramps right there at 199th. Yep.
Yeah, so that's nice to see.
And I think there's still a chunk out where we're gonna, by the culvert, where we have to do some more grading.
Yeah, so I've driven down it a couple times just to kind of look back in there. And looks pretty good. So, yeah. Any other questions, comments?
Hey, Dan, how far under do you think the total project's gonna be? Just rough estimate, like, are we talking 10, 20, 50, 100?
Probably 20 to 40,000, I guess.
Okay. That's my only question.
All right, if there are no further questions.
What was the amount?
$66,948.02.
Making sure I had it right. That's right.
I mean, they could have rounded it off. 2 cents.
Pennies.
That's not the way enterprise contracts
No.
work. The whatever comes out, comes out. Every time I try to round something, then it goes bad.
Yep.
We're engineers after all.
If there are no further questions or comments, I entertain a motion.
Motion to recommend the approval of change order 4 with Walters Construction LLC in the amount of $66,948.02. Direct the mayor and staff to execute change order 4.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next, we'll move on to consider approval of task order 2024-05 with Lamper Nearson for $16,000 for flow metering and topographic survey to support the sanitary sewer evaluation study for the proposed development near North Webster Street, north of 207th Street. And Mr. Spear, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council.
So yeah, this item is considering a task order with Lamper Nearson in the amount of $16,000. This flow metering and survey work will let us evaluate the current and future capacity of our sanitary sewer system, especially in that area around Webster, north of 207th. So we can evaluate some proposed developments and see, do we have capacity for those developments? Do we need to add capacity? How much? So it's the initial phases of that evaluation. This is part of our, it's a standard, goes with our general service agreement, our on-call agreement with Lamper Nearson. So it's a pretty typical task order that we do for these types of items. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
I guess you're talking about the property west, so what exactly geographic area are you talking about? North Webster from north of 207th?
Yeah, and we're
East, west side of the road?
we're taking a pretty good look at both. So yeah, it's that whole area. We're not focused on one specific development, but there are a few developments proposed in that area. So we're trying to catch it all with one study.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve task order 2024-05 with Lamper Nearson in the amount of $16,000 for flow metering and topographical survey to support the sanitary sewer study.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of special event permit for the fishing derby, which is always a real fun time each year with the Spring Hill Recreation Commission. And Mrs.
Mayor, I'm
Garrity, you
gonna
have.
sit out of this one.
Yes, sir. We'll come get you when you're ready.
Mr. Peel, we can mute you. Oh, okay. So Mr. Peel has been muted, so. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I present to you a special event permit submitted by the Spring Hill Recreation Commission for their annual fishing derby. The event is scheduled for June 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. to be held at Veterans Park. And all departments, including Parks, Police, the Community Development, Johnson County Fire District Number 1, have reviewed it, and they have no issues to report. The request from the Rec Commission is that the park area grass be mowed, the trash picked up, and bathrooms open for guests. And then on the site plan, they do list the parking, and there is overflow parking, which is only allowed on the right side for the emergency vehicles to come in if they need to. So there's plenty of room for them to access the site. And with that, the suggested motion, or the recommendation I say, is City Council approves special event permit for the fishing derby to be held on Saturday, June 1st, 2024 at Veterans Park from 9 to noon. And I'm happy to ask answer any questions.
I have no questions. I've been there every year we've had it. It's fun. It's a great time. Veteran Park is beautiful. It's great with the fishing jetties, so it can take a lot of kids. And it's a good thing.
Speaking of I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Speaking of the fishing jetties, they will be,
That's what I was just gonna mention.
okay, yeah, they're
No.
gonna be doing a ribbon cutting or dedicating those. So that is kind of an exciting, it kind of worked together with getting the official for the fishing jetties and then for the fishing derby to happen, so.
Yeah, they've been done for a little over a year, so they were used last year in the fishing derby, but we never officially dedicated them. So yeah, that'll be happening the same day,
Yeah.
early in the morning. So that'll be exciting. I know it was a big hit last year. They were full of kids using them. So, and I know I've mentioned up here before that I've had people even in some disabled person in Gardner reached out to me and said they drive all the way here to Spring Hill so that they
nice.
can go out on their wheelchair and fish from the jetty.
That's great.
So I thought that was kind of cool that somebody's coming into our town and maybe stop at Quick Trip and buy a sandwich or something, you know? So, but it's kind of cool that we have something here that they don't have everywhere. Any other questions, comments? If not, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve the special event permit for the Spring Hill Recreation Commission Fishing Derby to be held on Saturday, June 1st, 2024 at Veterans Park from 9 a.m. to 12.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-1.
Actually, it'd be 300.
3-0-0, so we don't count him as.
Right, I'll
Abstain.
put that he was not part of the discussion,
Okay,
just to clarify the record.
all right.
Thank you.
Motion carries 3-0-0. All right, that ends formal council action at this time, and next we'll move on to a discussion item, and the first item on discussion is first quarter financial review by Mrs. Dunn. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Real quick.
Council and Mayor. Yes.
Quick, Ms. Dunn, before you start, can we officially bring Brian back in? Does someone have his number or something to tell him? Councilmember Peel.
Mr. Peel, are you back on there now?
I would imagine if he recused himself, he turned his volume off, so hopefully
We'll wait, make sure he's on.
he doesn't know.
You there,
you go.
Mr.
Now-
Peel?
Now you should be able to hear me.
All right,
Yeah.
yep, we got you.
Sorry.
All right. In case you missed it, we've got the first quarter financial review by Mrs. Dunn, and she's getting ready to have the floor.
That is right. Good evening. Thank you for your time and for being here tonight. Before I start my presentation, I was on the agenda for last time and I prepared for a financial review, and what was on the agenda was a budget review. And so we didn't feel it was appropriate to have a financial review the public wasn't aware we were gonna do, so we canceled it. So Mr. Young challenged me and said, well, if you have more time, we should see dancing dollar signs and all sorts of nice stuff in your presentation, so I wanted you to be prepared. Okay? Maybe. Is that it? Yeah, and that's it. So there you go. We've got dollar bills, we've got 20s in there, we've got everything that you
Bag of
possibly
money.
need. I am calling this a first quarter review. It is, however, the first 4 months of the year. So it's a third review, I guess is the way to put that. I'm gonna go through revenue and expense and then a status update on the CIP, and I'm gonna work the budget discussion in with it as we go. So we kind of keep categories together and things like that. So I'm gonna start out with revenue, of course, and this is a comparison of the 2024 budget with the estimated year end based on the first 4 months of the year. I did leave some details in here this time, more than I typically give you, because I thought there might be some points of interest you would like to think about a little further. I did provide you a paper copy, so in case you want to have it handy or take notes or questions or something, then you have a hard copy of it. The thing I wanted to point out here, property tax comes to us in two big pieces. I expect it to be right on budget. We get about half in January and half in June. And so I'm expecting that to be right on budget. It's probably a little bit of a head right now, but usually that makes up somewhere. On sales and use tax, we run almost equal amounts of sales tax and property tax. But I thought you would find it interesting. One, we've enjoyed some good years here while I've been here that property or sales tax runs well ahead of budget. This year, I was challenged last year in the budget process to not be as conservative on our revenue, and so I was less conservative, and we are running right on budget. So we won't have a big surplus coming from sales tax, but I believe we will achieve our budget. These numbers are through 4 months. This afternoon, I got the distribution for May, and May is very healthy. It's running about 10% over prior year. And we're running more like 5.8 year to date. And so I am optimistic that we will more than make up for this $120,000 deficit before year end. I'm hoping we go on past it. But
The sales tax.
sales tax, right. Then I wanted you to see sales and use tax. And sales tax are things that are sold by retailers here in Spring Hill. This is an easy way to put that, or direct. For example, one of our largest property tax categories is for the sale of motor vehicles. We don't have a car lot here, but if you live here and we have a higher tax rate, or if you live here, you pay city sales tax on your car purchase. So, but I thought you'd find it interesting that sales tax is down, use tax is up. Use is the things that get bought and shipped in here. Amazon goes in that category. Nebraska Furniture Mart goes in that category. So those are things we buy outside and have them delivered here. And so you can see, and I think this makes perfect sense in our world today, that those categories are growing. And I'm hoping we see sales tax bounce back through construction and summertime and all the other things that go on in our city in a year. Alcohol tax, I'm sad to report, is a little under budget. I have new estimates for 24 or for 25. The number we were given and received last year seems to be running under budget. I'm guessing everyone needs to drink beer this summer and get it in.
Most of our sports teams are doing pretty well, so.
So we should be doing really well. And just as a reminder, this is liquor by the drink. So this is when you go to say BB's and have a beer. That tax is what's reported here, not what you buy at Quick Trip or at the liquor stores or anything like that. That's packaged. We don't receive any part of that packaged liquor tax. And then the franchise tax piece is from Evergy and Atmos and all your utilities that pass on a franchise fee to our residents on their bills. And we're running right on budget, maybe just a little bit ahead on that. Anytime you'd like to stop and ask me questions, of course, please feel free to.
Yeah, can we go, just from my own knowledge, so the use tax, so every Amazon package gets delivered to my house, the city of Spring Hill is getting the use tax,
We get our 1.5%.
1.5%. Thank you.
Exactly. Okay, so I wanted you to see a sales tax trend for 23 and 24. And it's not a pretty chart, no matter which way that you look at it, but it is, I just want you to see that in the end, this is trending sort of right at last year. It's starting to trend up. And these are all delayed 2 months. So when you see January, that's really November sales that we finally get in January. So when you see March or February, that's really December, things like that. So it looks like maybe the December sales were a little off from the prior year. This is the next group of revenue categories. These are services and sales, which are all of those things that citizens use here, from city licenses, trash collection, and then the development fees that we get. I'm talking with Mr. Burton. I did not estimate those out on the development fees. I kept them for the amount we've collected this year for the houses that are being built here now, or parcels that have been split and things like that. I did not add more on. So if things keep continuing like they are, that'll be great. We'll be in above this number. Again, being conservative, he did not feel that the trend that we've had this spring will continue through the year. So these are basically, we won't get any extra. We've done the business we're going to, and we'll see how it comes out 4 months in. I'd also want to report that the fees in municipal court are up this year. Citizens probably don't like to hear that, but we've been running about $150,000 for the last 2 or 3 years, and it has increased to about $187,000, which is a good thing. We have the aquatic center in here is basically his budget because we aren't open yet, but we typically match our revenue budget. So based on those items, we expect to be about $164,000 or $65,000 above budget in this category. On the miscellaneous things,
I did have a quick question.
Yeah.
So the very first one, the city fee, why is there such a big difference between the 2024 budget and the 2024 estimated? 780 on the first and 7,380 on the estimate. Is that a mistype or is that really
Nope.
okay?
It is not. I would have to go back and look. Sometimes it's the timing of when people renew their licenses. That can also be, for example, maybe somebody bought their fireworks license early this year and they won't, as opposed to a different time. And so I don't believe I think it's probably a timing difference more than anything. And then that next category, miscellaneous, I did not make a lot of adjustments to this. I basically took, 4 months times 12 more to this group because they're kind of unusual things like reimbursements where somebody pays us back for something. Miscellaneous is minor items. Probably an important one to point out here are the credit card fees. When we began charging our customers, our residents for using their card, I expected the accounting of that to be not on our side, that the credit card company would keep it, but instead they pass it to us as revenue and then they charge us the bill. And so I have some accounting that I didn't expect that in the budget. Bottom line, it's zero impact to the city, but you're gonna see a bounce on both sides of that equation. Other sale of that. I am going to leave this here in the general fund for now. Because we're gonna run close to budget, I don't want us to run short. If at the end of the year, we have the surplus, I'd like to see us transfer this into the equipment reserve because it's equipment that we sold, then it could be used towards other equipment purchases in the future, or we could leave it here in the general fund and let it help offset the cost of our leased equipment that we bought. Can I answer any questions on revenue? As you can see, bottom line, we're looking to run about $211,000 over, better than budget, more than budget at the end of the year. And I try not to do a flat line, divide by 4 and multiply by 12. I really go through each category and figure out, what's what. Okay? So I thought you might like to see a representation of how the categories fit in the pie. And the important thing here is that property tax and sales tax are pretty equal. That's not usually the case. Usually in a lot of cities, property tax is a much bigger piece of the pie, but here we have a little more equal percentage. So let's talk about what we're gonna do in 2025, and I wanna really point out that this is preliminary. Everyone look at me, it's preliminary. I don't know where we're gonna end up, but based on what I know today, our revenue looks pretty good going into 2025. The number at the top on property tax is based on very preliminary numbers from the county treasurer in Johnson County and doing the math out, what would that mean in property tax? And so I've plugged that number in here. I have taken sales and use tax and I did a 5% increase. Like I said, May is 10, we're running about 5 year to date. So we'll see, we'll have a couple more months before we really approve a budget to see if that 5 is a good number. But for now, I'm comfortable saying 5. That would be an increase of about $166,000. There's a correction in alcohol tax coming, the state provides that number. Franchise tax, I looked back from 2023 to 24, we increased about 10%. The prior year was pretty flat. And so I've put a 9% in here for now because we have more residents and that's basically per household generated income. And so I did a 9% increase in here. On our services and sales, aquatic center and those things, I left them at exactly what we think we'll do in 2024. And remember that, the development fees and things like that were flat to what we've done year to date. But that is about an 11% increase over budget. So bottom line, we're looking at $783,000 increase in revenue, preliminary in the budget, which is about an 8.7% increase. That is no increase in our fees, no planned increase in our mill levy. Any property tax is based on increased valuation from the county, and then our trend in sales tax. Can I answer any questions about revenue?
On the property tax.
Yes.
That $400,000 increase, a lot of that is coming from new doors, right? It's not the assumption that that's how much they're gonna be raising property taxes, or is?
We have asked Johnson County to provide us that breakdown. It's not an easy thing to peel out of their data. I would agree with you, but it is not 90% new doors and 10% increased valuation. It is our intention going into budget not to raise the tax rate, that we would keep our mill levy the same, but there is increased valuation for Spring Hill. So I'll say a combination of that.
This is great, Rhonda.
Thank you.
This is really, really good.
Good.
So
We're off and
for
going.
revenue for 25, we're preliminarily predicting 700 to 750,000 additional.
It's 784 is the number that
Okay,
my math, and
we'll call it 750,000.
yes, I'm good with that. I also have a hard copy. I'm happy to email this to you, Mr. Peel, so you have a copy for yourself as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to move on to expenditures, and instead of splitting this down to look department to department, I thought it might be better to look at categories. How much do we spend on people? How much do we spend on insurance and things like that? I can split it up any other way you'd like to see it, and you will through the budget process. But I felt like you kind of needed to know what we spend in big chunks. And so this is sorted largest to smallest in 2024 estimated year end. I also want you to know that this does not add down. I took all the categories over $25,000. And so there are a whole lot of categories we spend money in that are not on this page, but they are reflected in that $7.5 million total. I'm happy to share any of those details, but I think it just gets to be an ugly eye chart that it doesn't add a lot of value. People, of course, is our biggest category. We are running under budget about 12%, and that's due to positions that are unfilled at this time. We also talked about medical insurance, maybe at the last meeting when you improved for a new plan, and we said we had the budget to accommodate that increase for the rest of the year, and so I have this budget, estimated to take the entire budget for 2024. Purchase lease I'm not going to go through every one of these. Purchase lease obligation. I'm doing some research here. I don't quite know what happened in this category. It should not be over budget. And I've gone back and looked through. I'm trying to sort that out and see, number one, so it isn't repeated in 25, and make sure everything in there is true and correct. So that's a work in progress.
Are those vehicles?
That's vehicles, that's equipment.
Yep.
Right. Most of these categories are pretty self-explanatory. Professional services are people we hire to do things for us. Our IT contract is in there. You also have, if we hire a plumber to come in and do some work, that's professional services, not building maintenance. It's kind of an odd thing to me, but that's how we do it. I also want to point out to you that category way down in credit card fees. That's where I didn't budget for those fees because I didn't think we were going to see them, but it's offset in revenue at the top. The other one I would probably point out is vehicle maintenance. We made some choices. We had some accidents, and as opposed to make the claim on our insurance and risk higher rates, we opted to pay cash for some repairs, and that's what you see reflected in here is some repairs we had to do unplanned for sure. The other piece is facility maintenance is running over. The biggest category there is the aquatic center. And there will be a transfer which was budgeted out of the sales tax fund for recreation. We'll offset that. We have not yet done that. I'm waiting to see where we are and whether that's enough or we want to do more or what we want to do. So I want to get through the pool season before I make that transfer. So based on these estimates, and again, I don't do simple math. An example is we haven't bought any snow removal, sand and salt stuff, but I know we will. So I take that whole budget as something we will spend before the end of the year. Example, we'll probably do some striping or street sweeping or things like that. So based on that, I estimate our expenses will be $525,000 better than budgeted, which is about 6.5% under budget. Can I answer any questions about expenditures?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Maybe you may not have the answer for it, but how many FTs do you have open right now? Like how many aren't filled?
I'm going to defer to Mrs. Jones. I could take a guess, but I probably wouldn't be right.
The full-time positions that we have posted opening right now is 3.
3.
Okay.
It would be in PD and then our city engineer.
Okay. Thank you.
We also had positions that have been recently filled and maybe haven't been filled all year. And so we have some that are under budget because we haven't had them all year so far. I didn't do a pie chart of expenses because it would be an ugly eye chart. But I felt that you get the same information when I sorted the categories largest to smallest. And so hopefully that gives you that visual of where we are. Okay, when I wanted to cover 2025 budget for expenses. The OpenGov system is fully loaded. It has been turned over to the directors to work in with their budget. The chief has turned in her budget. I know Public Works, Mr. Spear is working on his. Everyone is. I'm done with mine. So we're using our new tool. You will start to see more reports from that. We are working to put the snapshot, the financial report every month into OpenGov as opposed to doing it in Excel. The accountant in my group was working on that and was nearly finished. And she went off and had a baby on me. So when she gets return to work in about a week, we'll see that come up and you'll start to see reporting from OpenGov for all of our information. We have the people budget built out. I don't have a summary yet because I'm getting little pieces of important data like the new Capers rate. We'll have a little time before we have insurance rates and things like that. But all of it is in progress. This past week, I had a meeting with this training with the state where they went over any changes in budget law and the new worksheets and all that kind of stuff so we can prepare the state forms as well. So we're off and running. June 15th is our next milestone when the counties are required to get the property tax part of the puzzle to us or property values to us. And the directors have until next Friday to get their budgets back to me. So it's all working along. Then we'll see if it works, see if it balances. Any other financial questions before I move to CIP?
I do.
Yeah.
On your people budget, did you budget in raises or how do you all do that?
You bet. We, last year we did a CBIZ, did a survey for us and it was a 2-year survey. And so the new rates that we have for 2025 are not a straight percentage. It's market-based for each position. And so we have new rates in the budget for each position
So
if they had a market adjustment.
So market-based, so you don't do performance-based?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, wait, you're not saying that correctly. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So no, she's correct in that the CVIS market study that we did, they, as part of that whole package, they provide up to a 5-year review of each year, giving us what the recommendation for merit increases would be, as well as the individual movement of the salary ranges. So that's what she's saying, is that there's some positions will move at a different rate than others when it comes to that overall range or value for that particular role. But the merit piece is a blanket number that we're gonna work and see if whether or not that gets approved, but they do provide a recommendation for that.
Okay,
I did not say that well. Thank you for clarifying.
thank you.
You bet. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the capital improvement plan, and this is a project update for the 24 to 28 plan that is in operation right now. it's also just a reminder, a living document. So as costs of a project increase, or we need to add a new project or something, that happens throughout the year. I have this divided into the three categories from the prior or the current comprehensive plan. The first is transportation-related projects. And you can read, don't plan to stand here and read to you. But these are annual street maintenance, which is well underway, and you've been approving contracts in that program. And on the far right column is how those things are funded. So that's a combination of money from the 2023A bond series, as well as state highway taxes on those two. Highway right-of-way, not highway, but right-of-way presentation, we budgeted or included about $2 million. We have not identified any funding, and right now there are not any specific areas that we're doing have proposed any right-of-way acquisition yet or anything like that. So when we go to do that, then we'll determine a funding source. The signalization at 191st and 169, we budgeted $3 million. Whether it ends up at 191st or somewhere else, that's one pending with KDOT, and it is, we expect grants, maybe developer contributions, CID, those kind of things. As that project develops out, obviously we'll have more information. Those projects total $6,020,000. These projects are public facility projects. They are anything that belongs to the city, whether it's the wastewater treatment plant or public streets. And again, I won't read here. Stormwater is one that we haven't taken action on yet. It would be funded wastewater, but we are taking some action there and looking forward to get a project going. We are working on the Spring Hill Lake Dam and spillway improvements. Dan has met with Johnson County to determine how to apply for SMAC funding, which is a county, metropolitan area fund. He'll provide a task order for preliminary engineering and how we'll get those funds from SMAC to do that work. Wastewater new development feasibility. This is ongoing. If we get maybe a proposed development somewhere and we need to figure out the wastewater piece of it, then we would engage this project. There's a CDBG water line replacement transite lines, which is postponed depending on what our next steps are. Annual curb and gutter replacement is here for $100,000. I'm going to come back when we have a plan here for curb and gutter and ask, there's some surplus funds in 300, which is the infrastructure capital improvement fund. We'll come back and ask for that. A public works building, we've made no progress. We need to determine some direction there or move it to 2025. The 215th and Columbia sewer expansion is under construction, and it has joint funding between the city and paid from the wastewater fund as well as the builder. New development for the sewer mains, we estimated $10 million, and this is a TBD. We do not have a project identified, and then the funding will be identified as we identify the projects along there. These projects total $11,650,000. I feel like I missed one. I think I missed this one. Community development. Yeah, I was like, it totaled up, and I knew I hadn't hit all three. This is the community development projects, which includes like the annual sidewalk, which is budgeted, and we're making plans and things like that. The continuation of the Webster Street extension for Wiswell Farms, Ridgeview to Renner on 199th design phase, as well as the US 69 to the west city limits. The work's being done out there. These projects are all funded, which is either from the 2025 or 2024 budget, as well as the base grant and RID and proceeds from the 2023A bond. So going to the bottom line, in the 2024 year for the CIP, we had $24,825,000 in projects identified. Of those, $9,645,000 are funded projects, And the remaining 15,100,000 are either to be determined and they're unfunded at this time.
And some of those, some big chunks of those might come through grants possibly.
Right, that's our goal, yes. Some might have, say, KDOT funds or CARS funds and different things like that. Can I answer any CIP questions?
So, let me see if I can find it here. We're talking about 191st or 183rd on the CIP.
91st.
191st. Yep, okay. And with that, do you have some ideas for grants and developer contributions?
Yes
And
and
CIP.
no.
Okay,
No grants that we're, 100% sure we're gonna get. But we have, reached out, to Senator, or, Representative Davis's office, to see if there was any help at the federal level. So we are looking through some of those. Potentially KDOT may have some funding, to help with that. CID funding, which would be, if any businesses go in that area that,
right,
so.
okay.
And we have submitted for some grants that we're hoping that we'll get. But there's no guarantee, like,
But we're looking at 3 million just for the signal.
That's just a
That's a,
preliminary estimate.
right.
Okay,
And that, I should say, that includes, some additional work for turning lanes, so that there would be some street improvements on the highway and the side streets.
thank you.
which KDOT will want, if they're gonna put a signal in, they'll want those.
Yeah.
Question, since we're talking about that, do we get the study back on that with the,
Not yet. Recently, we had a traffic analysis study
Right.
done at the 191st Street.
Right.
I anticipate, I don't know if Dan's still here. I think we should have that by the end of the month or the first week of June. Okay.
okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions on capital? Yes, Mr.
Yeah, Ms. Dunn, we had 100 slated for curb and gutter repair, I believe. And then another 100 for sidewalk, either repair or construction, new construction. You said that we were in plans. That I guess the only thing I would say on those two is make sure that we get those executed. Or get something done with those. That's something that we need to do a better job, I think, of actually doing the work year after year. I know it's not funded at the level that we want or need it to be, but we got to start somewhere. So let's just start doing something.
Yeah, and I agree on that. I think we all talked up here and decided that connectivity and sidewalks were a big priority, and we haven't, in the past years, there hasn't been much done on that at all. I think that's in the budget several times over the last few years, and nothing's been done. So I think we'd all like to see, even if it's 100 feet of sidewalk, we'd like to see some sidewalks start going in. So.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't know if we want to make that a discussion item at some point somehow, or just kind of keep that within the staff to determine how to go about, find targeting areas. I know we've talked about South Street, but with, even with just $200,000, even if we use both of it, like that's not going to touch that particular project, but it could touch some other ones. In Old Town, there's some really, really old sidewalks that are very uneven and look even, at times a little dangerous to even walk on. That those would be, to me, easily identifiable areas of sidewalk that could use replacement and could be pretty simple and say, hey, let's fix that. Or, there's even those old, not great areas don't always connect everywhere. So like maybe we could make one connection or something, or, I would just like to see us utilize those funds and get that ball rolling, even if it's rolling slowly.
One of the things I met with an individual earlier this week, since we have the SS4A grant that will be starting later this summer, or hopefully within the next 60 days, one of the things that we can apply for is supplemental funding, and what we're looking at is doing some type of supplemental funding request as part of that grant for additional sidewalk work. And then we're hoping that we can tie some of the SS4A or the supplemental funding into some type of sidewalk and trail review. And I believe that that should be coming before the governing body, probably in the June timeframe. I believe that's due for that grant. I want to say it's either the end of July or end of August. So that'll be coming back to the governing body pretty quick. It's not a guaranteed funding source, but it is through some of that bilateral infrastructure law, the bill funding that the feds have. So we're going to try to tap into that and then hopefully utilize some of that 100,000 as our local cost share.
Great.
Excellent.
Great. Any other questions on the capital plan? It's also in progress in the budgeting process to include things that you've already seen here, like the railroad right-of-way or the railroad at grade crossings projects and some of the signalization products and KDOT discussions and things like that to be added for the next version that's coming. Good. Can I answer any other questions?
You know, just one other thing. Could you go back to the screen you were just at?
You bet.
Yeah, so the right-of-way preservation. So this is just future thinking of what we may need while it's undeveloped.
Right. We know with projects that are coming, there will be the need for right-of-way.
Exactly.
And so we're trying, again, it's a 5-year plan. We're trying to stay on top of the fact we will need funding to manage right-of-way. Good.
That's all I got.
Any other questions?
And that's it. That one's for Mr. Chad.
That's great.
Well, thank you for your time. Hope it was informative. Thank you, ma'am.
That concludes formal action at this time. We'll move on to announcements and reports. Really, the only announcement that I have kind of mentioned earlier, the dedication of fishing jetties out at Veterans Memorial Park. That will be the same day of the fishing derby, so June 1st in the morning that morning. So, yeah, invite everybody out to that. And I won't steal the fishing thing from Brian, so I'll let him announce. Mr. Van Houten?
Yeah, the only thing I have is the Meadows, the subdivision, the Meadows. Is that right, Pat? Meadows off 215th, north of there. So KDOT's going to be replacing 300 feet of fence, barbed wire fence that goes along that trail there with panel wire. So it'll be dog-proof, kid-proof, and an improvement over what's currently there, which is just dangling barbed wire. So just want to let people know that it's been something I've had multiple people talk to me about, and staff took action on that. And KDOT actually contacted me, telling me they're going to be getting started on it soon. So that's all I got.
Awesome. Mr. Peel?
Yeah, Fishing Derby is a week from Saturday. It's the license-free weekend, so even adults can come and fish, not needing a license. It's kind of a summer kickoff event also. Then there's, you mentioned it, Mayor, the dedication for the fishing jetties is also happening that same morning. So, so that's coming up in about a week. Only other thing I got is I mentioned the blood drive last week, and there was one of those was scheduled for today, just ended a couple hours ago. But the donation takes are really low and really down. So I'm really hoping that we can get the word out better on that, and we can get donations back up. The goal that they have for those events, they're usually 4-hour events, and they try to get 40 donations, and they're struggling to get even halfway there. So really would like to get the word out on the blood drive. We have one every 2 months. It's at the community center. Doesn't take much of your time. They give you some free snacks and soda, and it really helps out a lot of people. So if you can do that, please check it out.
Oh, and I just wanted to mention, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, the dedication for the fishing jetties is at 8:30 a.m. and then I believe the fishing derby starts at 9, so it's just right before. So if you just come a little bit early, you can be there for the dedication and then proceed with fishing. Mrs. Feback.
I hope everybody knows that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so it's really a time to kind of reflect on your own mental health and those around you. I work in downtown Kansas City, and so we're really tried to do a good job. Green is the color that represents mental health, and so downtown it's pretty green in the night. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody. Just be aware.
Thank you. Mr. Verbruggen.
No announcements.
Well, Mr. Massey looks like stepped out, so Mr. Lau.
No report.
Chief Henson.
Just wanted to remind everyone, we have Coffee with a Cop in the morning at the Bean from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So if you're available, stop on by.
Awesome. Mr. Burton. Madam Clerk.
No report. Thank you.
Mrs. Dunn.
I've said enough, no report.
Mrs. Jones.
No report.
Mr. Spear. I know you have one.
Yeah. We've got to talk about the pool.
Yep.
So the latest update with the Aquatic Center, I think many of you know, but we have been, since we filled the pool to start this season, we have been looking for a leak. We are losing about 14 inches of water out of the whole water surface area at the Aquatic Center in a 24-hour period. So that's a significant enough leak, that it's not practical to just keep adding water all season long. Also, from a safety perspective, if you have to add that much fresh water, you can never keep the chemical balance right. So for those, both the financial reasons and the safety reasons, we can't open the pool with that leak in place. It's also proving to be a very elusive leak to find. There are thousands of feet of pipes of all different sizes under and around the Aquatic Center between the main pool and the lazy river and the zero depth entry portion. This leak is on a drain line, not on a supply line. So it's leaking out much more slow. It's not under pressure. So it doesn't come to the surface and it's not easily identifiable. It is literally putting water and air in and using listening devices and saying, man, we think we hear something here. Let's cut out the concrete. Let's dig down. Let's see if nope, that wasn't it. So it is frustrating as it may be, it's a trial and error process. So we are still in that process. I don't have an estimate yet of when we will have it fixed and up and running. What I do know, kind of the unfortunate news developed today, is that it became clear today that we will not be able to make the planned opening for this weekend. So I know we won't make that opening. As to when it will be open, it's still too soon to tell.
I have a question on that. So you're going to get the communication out then for people that aren't watching or don't?
Yes.
Okay, good.
We've already started that communication to at least let people know there is an issue. And when that first went out, we weren't even certain yet whether or not we would make that planned opening date. But we've already started crafting a message that will go out later this evening.
And I do want to let everybody know we have enlisted professionals that do this for a living, that leak find. So it's not just our guys trying to do a needle in a haystack. We do have professional guys in there that are trying to find and fix this leak. So
yeah, and we reached out to the company that built and installed the Aquatic Center originally and asked them, who would you recommend? They gave us the name of a company that they said was the best in the area and does this kind of work for large municipal pools and complexes all over the area. They've been in there working every day for the last week and a half, and we are committed. We will stay on it until we find it, get it repaired, and we can get the Aquatic Center open back up.
All right, any questions or comments on that? I know it's not what we all want to hear, but such is the life of city pools, it seems. And I do know this is not something that just we struggle with here. This is something that just about every municipality that has a large pool struggles with every year. There's always leaks that pop up, and you hope that you get them fixed quickly and doesn't cause much delay. So hopefully they find it soon. With that, that ends announcements and reports, and we will move on to executive session number 1, and I believe we need 10 minutes.
Move to recess into executive session under the attorney-client exception for 10 minutes. We'll be returning at 8:12.
Yeah, so, yeah, we need to give the, do we have the motions printed off? So we have to give what part of the statute, so, and the attorney-client exception to discuss, they should be in the printed off.
Yeah, it should stay in there. It's in.
Am I out here?
Click out of here. And click right there. Double click. There you go.
Thank you. I'm sorry, here we're at here. Mayor, show me here again here. So I move the city council recess into executive session for 10 minutes to receive advice, counsel, to discuss a request for benefit district financing pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception of KSA 75-4319B2 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 8:13. No formal action is anticipated following the session. Persons to be in attendance are the following: Lane Massey, Pat Burton, Spencer Lau, Tom Calico, and Tyler Ellsworth.
Got a motion?
I second.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 4-0-0. We will see you guys shortly.
with all the same individuals.
I second it.
Got a motion second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0. Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect the governing body reconvened into open meeting at 8:24-ish. No votes were taken or decisions made during the executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated. With that, I entertain a motion to move into executive session number 2, and I believe we need 10 minutes on that one as well.
I move the city council recess into executive session for 10 minutes to receive advice of council to discuss a request for benefit district financing pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception of KSA 75-4319B2 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 8:36. The opening meeting will, no formal action is anticipated following the session. Persons to be in attendance are the following: Lane Massey, Pat Burton, Spencer Lau, Tom Calico, and Tyler Ellsworth.
Second it.
Got a motion, second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0. We will see you guys shortly. problem making it. Everyone, it's not very often that we have to come back out and ask for it. Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect that the governing body reconvened in open meetings at 8:36 p.m. No votes were taken or decisions made during executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated. With that, I entertain a motion to move into executive session number 3 for 15 minutes.
I move the city council recess into executive session for 15 minutes to receive advice of council to discuss a request. Is this? Okay. Am I reading the same thing?
Yep. Just add
The
that.
attorney, yeah, for benefit district financing pursuant to the attorney-client.
No, it's the third one.
For acquisition property.
Should be the
Sorry,
third.
third. Yep. Gotcha. I move the city council recess into executive session 15 minutes for preliminary discussion regarding the acquisition of property pursuant to KSA 75-4319B6 of the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The open meeting will resume in the city council chambers at 8:53. No formal action is anticipated following the session. Persons being in attendance are the following: Lane Massey, Spencer Lau, and Pat Burton.
I second it.
Got a motion second. Is there any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0. We will see you guys shortly. Welcome back, everybody. Let the record reflect the governing body reconvened into open meeting at 8:53 PM. No votes were taken or decisions made during the executive session. The discussion was limited to the subject stated, and with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0-0. Have a good night, everyone.